The friend who waited. You never think your best friend will steal from you. Not money, that's too crude. What Zoe took was more delicate, more expensive. My ideas, my voice, the small and visible rhythm of my sentences. I met her when we were 19. Two girls sharing a dorm room with a broken heater and too much ambition. I was the quiet one who wrote late into the night. She was the loud one who collected people like jewelry. We balanced each other. My solitude made her sparkle. Her energy gave my silence an audience. Or so I thought. Years passed. I wrote novels that nearly sold, essays that editors praised but declined. She pivoted into wellness, first a blog, then a brand, then a company. We Rise Together, it was called. The irony still stings. The theft happened so smoothly, I almost admired it. I'd shared my new manuscript with her, my first in 5 years. A story about a Caribbean family bakery, a daughter trying to leave, a mother who hid love behind precision. She said she adored it, that it was ripe with feeling. I remember that word, ripe. 2 months later, she sent me a link. You'll love this. It was a viral post by a young influencer, a fictional memoir about a Caribbean family bakery and a daughter who wanted out. The language was too close for coincidence. The metaphors, the rhythm, they were mine, reassembled, brightened, and sold. Zoe claimed she had mentioned my themes to a mutual acquaintance who'd been inspired. I didn't confront her. I just said, "How generous of you," and saved every screenshot. You learn, after a while, that confrontation is mercy. The crueler act is observation. So I watched. Her brand expanded. She published a book called We Rise Sisterhood. She went on podcasts, panels, retreats. She used phrases I'd written in private messages, boundaries as grace, healing as authorship, words I'd sweat over, now printed in her voice. People told me I should move on, but writers don't move on. We metabolize. Every slight becomes compost. For a year, I said nothing. I started a newsletter under a pseudonym, C.A. Larch, about creative integrity and emotional theft. I wrote like a surgeon, not a victim. My essays had titles like When Sharing Becomes Taking and The Economics of Empathy. They weren't about her, not directly, but they were written in her shadow. Readers sensed it. They always do. The newsletter grew quietly. Editors subscribed. MFA programs assigned it. My words traveled further as C.A. Larch than they ever had as myself. Freedom hides well behind anonymity. When Zoe's second book deal was announced, the publisher promoted it as a vulnerable exploration of creative sisterhood. I smiled. That week, I published an essay titled The Price of Borrowed Light. I never named her, but anyone who'd been paying attention could see the outline. The essay was shared 20,000 times. A month later, a journalist emailed C.A. Larch and asked for an interview. They wanted to discuss intellectual boundaries between friends. I agreed on one condition: no cameras, no photos, words only. I gave her quotes that could cut glass. Plagiarism doesn't always start as theft. Sometimes it begins as admiration that refuses to stay in its lane. Forgiveness is just forgetting with better branding. The piece went viral. Zoe posted a note about navigating complex creative overlaps. She said she valued authenticity. She even quoted me, not realizing she was quoting me twice. A week later, her publisher paused the campaign for internal review. The irony, her own PR department began fact-checking her memoir for influences. When she finally called, her voice trembled. She said, "Elise, why are you doing this?" I said, "Because I already did it once, quietly, and you called it friendship." She cried. I didn't. I'd done my grieving years ago. I told her I wished her peace. I meant it. Peace is just silence that has learned manners. Months later, the journalist wrote a follow-up. Anonymous essayist behind viral integrity movement revealed. She'd connected the dots. My real name was out. For a day, my inbox became a confessional. Writers thanking me, confessing, apologizing. The industry loves a scandal when it smells intellectual. I went public, but without drama. I gave one statement. Truth doesn't need anger. It needs daylight. It was reprinted on tote bags. Zoe disappeared from the circuit. She teaches workshops now on collaboration ethics. I'm told she's good at it. People change when the world starts quoting them back. Sometimes I reread her first book. It's beautifully written in places. She had taste, if not integrity. I underlined my old phrases, not with bitterness, but with curiosity. She polished them, but in polishing she dulled them. I prefer my rough edges. They still sound like me. You might ask if I miss her. The answer is complicated. There are days I remember the girl in the dorm room, the warmth, the laughter, the way she believed everything was possible. Then I remember how she believed everything was hers. I suppose, in her way, she taught me the most important thing I now teach others. Ownership is not about possession, it's about persistence. What survives is yours. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who smiled while taking your words, do what I did. Don't chase them. Outlast them. The truth, if well written, never expires. People still call me C.A. Larch. I don't correct them. That pseudonym is the truest version of me. Calm, detached, effective. And sometimes, when I sign an essay, I add a small flourish she once said she loved. It's petty, I know. But then, all good art is. That's my confession. I didn't ruin her. I refined her absence into a legacy that fits neatly under my name. And I waited long enough for her to realize that forgiveness and forgetting are not synonyms. They are antonyms, separated only by time.